Good day, everyone. Today, I'd like to talk about something we encounter far too often in Christian circles, something that is, frankly, a bit ironic. It's the issue of boasting and pride, especially when it comes to matters of faith. In Ephesians 2:8-9, Paul makes it clear that our salvation is not something we earn by our own works or efforts. It's a gift from God, freely given through grace, so that no one can boast. The point is simple. No one can claim credit for their salvation. It's all about God's mercy, not about what we've done. Now, you'd think this teaching would cultivate deep humility among Christians. After all, if we are saved by grace and not by our own merit, there's nothing to be proud of in ourselves, right? We should all be equally humbled before God, recognizing that His mercy alone has brought us salvation. But here's where the irony comes in. Instead of humility, what we often see in Christian communities is competition. It's almost as if people are trying to outshine each other in matters of faith. We find arguments about who holds the true faith, who has the correct interpretation of Scripture, or who is more righteous or saved. Some Christians insist that others are in error or even doomed, claiming that they've grasped the real teachings of Christ while others have gone astray, despite those others genuinely seeking God. This behavior, sadly, is a form of boasting. It's as though some are saying, I've figured it out. I'm better because I have the right beliefs, the right understanding, and I've made the right decisions about salvation. This, despite the very message of Ephesians, which is that salvation is not about what we have done or how smart we are to understand things correctly. It's all about God's grace. What's even more tragic is that this boasting leads to division among Christians. Instead of the message of grace bringing us together, we see rivalries and conflicts within the faith. Christians are quick to judge one another, often making harsh distinctions between who is saved and who is not, based on their own theological positions. It creates an environment of pride and superiority, which is the opposite of what Paul intended. But this isn't what grace is meant to produce in us. Grace is supposed to humble us. When we understand that none of us deserve salvation and that it's purely a gift from God, it should lead us to greater love, patience, and humility toward one another. If anything, it should remind us that none of us has all the answers and that we're all reliant on God's mercy, not our own abilities or understanding. Paul's message to the Ephesians calls us to trust fully in God's work, not in our own. This means trusting that God's grace is sufficient, not just for ourselves, but for others too. And that grace should lead us to unity, not division, to humility, not boasting. So, the next time we feel the urge to prove ourselves right or to show that our faith is somehow superior to someone else's, let's remember this. We were saved by grace, not by being smarter, more faithful, or more deserving. And that grace should make us humble, grateful, and loving toward others, not prideful or boastful.